on BBC1, Kenneth Griffith examines the causes and the consequences of the Battle of Jutland. Along a fascinating trail of errors and blunders, he shows how the British fleet was forced into a major engagement between dreadnought battleships, the only engagement of its kind, and how the British public, in the full expectancy of a second Trafalgar, were to be sadly disappointed.
Fisher's dreadnoughts, to some extent, countered Tirpitz's ships. But when inevitably Germany also began to build dreadnoughts, a naval arms race began. Fisher was confident that British shipyards could outbuild the Germans. Thus, when King George V, the sailor king, reviewed his fleet at Spithead in that sinister summer of 1914, the Royal Navy was still the most powerful navy. 35 miles of warships, and a fortnight later, this powerful armada sailed to war.
There's something wrong with our bloody ships. An examination of the Battle of Jutland, tomorrow at 9:25 on BBC1.
In 2 minutes, B.A. Robertson holds another tutorial for your BA in music. But first on BBC1, the news headlines with John Humphreys.
Lebanon has a new president, though at one stage it looked as though not enough MPs would turn up to vote him in. He's Bashir Gemayel, the right-wing leader of the Christian militia. News of his uncontested election brought celebratory gunfire to Christian East Beirut. There was so much, in fact, that Gemayel had to order it to stop, because people were being wounded by spent bullets raining down on the city. But the new president is hated by the PLO, and although they were having their own celebrations to mark the evacuation from the country, it's feared Gemayel's election may ultimately provoke more fighting. The ambulancemen in Cleveland are being advised to return to work by their union. They'll take a vote at a mass meeting tomorrow. The union's recommendation followed an emergency meeting between strike leaders and officials of the South Tees District Health Authority, called after a young woman died in a police van on the way to hospital. The union leaders said they were shocked by the tragedy, but they were not responsible. A 9-year-old boy has been questioned by police about the killing of a 12-year-old on Merseyside. Peter Piercy was stabbed in the chest with a camping knife near his home outside Birkenhead. The 9-year-old is now in the care of the local authority. He's below the age of criminal responsibility. The British Antarctic Survey has all but given up hope of finding the 3 British scientists who've been missing for 9 days. The survey director said the chances of finding them are now negligible. We believe they are dead. It's feared they either fell through the ice or were carried out to sea on an ice floe. Mrs. Thatcher is now back in Downing Street tonight after a minor operation on veins in her legs. She spent nearly 12 hours at a private hospital in London where she had a general anaesthetic. As she left, she said her legs were walking very well. Downing Street said the operation would in no way affect her work or public engagements. That's it from me. Good night.
Among the troops who returned to Britain from the Falklands in the past few weeks was a battalion of Gurkhas. The Gurkha connection in the British Army goes back more than a century and a half, and is the subject of a special programme, The Manners of a King, on Radio 4 on Tuesday evening at 8:20. In half an hour, we catch up on the day's events in the World Cycling Championships from Leicester. But first on BBC1, a further chance to gain a BA in music.